I don't know if he was mocking Hayden or if he was just like Jett is a very lighthearted, like he really is, guys. I promise you, like he is a great kid. He really is genuinely a great kid. So I don't think, but I think he was trolling him a little bit. He hit him with the shotgun, then he was like,
Yeah,
dude,
yeah.
that's
But whether or
I'm
not he
here for it.
was or wasn't, Hayden thinks he was, and a lot of fans think that he wasn't. And I didn't see it. I've just had a few people send it to
Yeah,
me like, "Hey, what do you
same.
think of this?" Whatever. Um, I'm here for all of it, AC. I'm here for all of it. I cannot wait. I think I said this on the last show. I cannot wait till next summer. We think Hayden's moving to 450 next summer. I'm here for it, man. I'm so here for it.
JB and AC. The energy was awesome. Those two are just like really finding their groove.
4 straight overall wins.
$100,000. Adam Cianciarulo.
Checkered flag and Justin Brady. Cianciarulo has won the 2019 Pro Moto Pro Championship.
He's gonna do it to become the oldest winner in the history of Supercross.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the AC and JB Show. I'm Justin Brayton here with Adam Cianciarulo and AC. Southwick, the sands of Southwick. Dude, that track looked tough.
It looked tough, JB. I say it every week. Race day live, whatever. I say it to my girlfriend. I'm watching the race, but especially this weekend, just sometimes you see tracks and you're just like, that doesn't look fun. Like it looked fun for two guys, Hayden Deegan and Jett Lawrence.
Yeah.
And I was very comfortable on my couch. That was, as we anticipated, looked like one of the toughest tracks of the year. Man, I can't believe how much our audience has grown since we started doing this, man. We posted our Southwick. Luckily we've had some good guests last couple of weeks. Aaron Plessinger, Ken Roxon. Man, that thing did numbers on YouTube, man. It's like 80,000 views or something. I don't think either of us were just, I don't know. It's hard. You and I, it almost, this happened so organically because this is pretty much how we talk. This is pretty much how we talk to each other driving from the airport to the track or in between, commercial breaks, race day. Like we're always just bench racing about what we're seeing. And I think it's cool. And that's one of the things that I was, most kind of surprised by. So you had such a long, successful career, and you still love dirt bikes. And I also love dirt bikes. And you know how it is. A lot of guys say they love it, but they don't love it like that. You know, so it's nice to bench race with someone like yourselves, educated, it's into it. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I think first thing that got to mention, we lost young, up-and-coming rider Aiden Zing at Mammoth just yesterday. And, man, I was on the golf course. I opened up Instagram and Swap Moto. Don had posted something about it. And I thought maybe he had won a championship or something. I started reading, and then I get to the bottom where it says, he passed away. And JB, that's just it's terrible, man. It's terrible. I don't know how to wrap my head around it. Obviously, it's a dangerous sport, but you never want to think of that. You never want to think of the worst case scenario. I was fortunate enough to have some time around Aiden. Of course, Nick Way trained me for a long time. I was very close with him and his family. And the Zings, they grew up racing with Vincent Way, Nick's oldest son. And so they were around quite a bit, just hanging in the garage, hanging at the track. Great kid, great family, and just devastating news. And of course, my prayers are with them during this must be just horrendous time. JB is terrible, man.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Adam. I really cannot imagine. I was at one of my wife's friends' houses yesterday and just got done taking my son riding, and same as you, pulled up social media and I couldn't believe what I was reading. I mean, and I didn't know him. We all feel like such a tight-knit family. I didn't know him. I didn't know his family. I did hear Paul Paravinos talk very highly of him and his family. I believe even on the Pulp Show or a podcast of some sort in recent years. And like you said, up and coming kid, had everything in front of him. And we started the podcast talking about you and I just being fans and how much we love the sport. And something like this happens, and it just tears everybody's heart out. And thoughts and prayers to the Zing family. They seem like amazing people. And like you said, spending some time around him and obviously the Way family. And tough times, man. Really, really tough times. So hard to see, so hard to even, like I said, I didn't even know him, and I just, my heart was breaking for him and his family. I just can't imagine. So yeah, thoughts and prayers to the family, and it's going to be tough times, but they'll get through it. And yeah, man, what else can you say? Tough times, no doubt.
And also I was thinking, I was reflecting a lot yesterday. After you hear news like that, it makes all the little stuff that I stress about and all the stuff that I'm, the challenge, little daily challenges, problems that we all have. It just really puts that stuff into perspective, right? You're like,
Yeah.
dude, I don't have anything to be really stressed about, and
Totally.
just thinking about the family and what they're going through. And so, yeah, I just wanted to, I know it's, close to your heart as well. I just wanted to say something before we, got into the action. So yeah, just again, thanking to the Zing family. I love our community. I love how we rally around families, riders that are hurt, riders pass away, and all that. And they will be in our prayers indefinitely. So on that note, as hard as it is to go from that, I feel like we need a commercial break or something, JB. But as hard as that is to do, Southwick this weekend, one of the hardest tracks to ride, and especially if you don't have a flow, Justin, like if you don't have a flow around Southwick, those motos feel an hour and a half long. Now, if you're the 18 and you're up front, you jumping bumps, moving all around, surfing all around in a high gear, wheeling and stuff, like, yeah, it looks fun. But for most of those guys, 35 of the guys on the gate, it's not necessarily a super fun day.
No. What about your first time to Southwick? Me growing up as such a motocross fan, I watched Southwick for years. It's such a historic track because it's different. It's our only sand race of the year, and it just feels like one of the majors in golf or something. And I'll never forget my first time there. I'm pulling in, and you've been there a bunch of times. I'm like, wait, hold on, I'm supposed to go into this school parking lot, and then am I at the right place?
Totally.
Is this Southwick? And then you park, and then you walk in, and then there's a sand track. It's like, isn't it weird pulling in there the very first time, AC?
It is weird. Yeah, it's what was your first year doing Southwick?
Man, I honestly don't remember. 87, 88?
Come on, man. Come on. I wasn't going to go there. Go there. Probably like
I figured you were going to go there. So
02, 03?
No, not that early. Let's see. I believe I did the race on Motor World Yamaha probably 06 or 07.
So you're on a 4-stroke.
Yep. It would have been 4-stroke, and I'll never forget it because I think I got the last spot. I was like 30 something in practice, and I'm like, oh my gosh,
no way.
This is bad. Because the locals, right? The locals rip there.
And if you don't get, Southwick is one of those tracks too. You wake up in the morning, you need to be on it right away, because we always see it. The B practice goes first, and there's always somebody in the top 5 from the B session, normally a local. That they really know how to ride up there. But Southwick, obviously the track gets rough so fast. If you don't put a time down in the first couple, like the first few laps of practice, I mean, for pro motocross, it's a little different. There's no free practice. You go out there, you roll the track, you do 1 lap, maybe 2 laps, then you get the green flag and got to go for it. So it really puts a lot of emphasis on getting to it right away. And Southwick was my first experience, JB. 2013. It was actually my second race ever. And the only thing I remember, it was actually, I grew up riding. It's called Orlando MX Park now, but we just called it Bithlow back in the day. OGs call it Bithlow. And it's this sand track, Central Florida. It's very similar. Sandy, but very hard base. And that's what right away when I got there, I rode the track. I was like, man, this is like this feels like home.
Yeah.
And as it started to get rougher, I started to get a little further away from home each lap I did. And the only thing I remember, I know I got ninth. It was my first top 10, and I was stoked about that.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you a picture I have in my phone of me at riders meeting that day. I mean, I seriously look like I should be the ball boy or something, dude. Like, I don't know how they let me out there. But I remember, and I've talked to Alex Martin about this a fair bit. He's always fit.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was holding on for dear life at the end of the second moto. I think I was right around 10, 11, 12 in that area. And I had A-Mart behind me just hounding me. It was him and I. There was nobody in front of us, nobody behind him. And I remember thinking, I don't remember if I beat him or not. But I just remember thinking, like, dude, it's this hard, like, to get 11th or 12th. Like,
Yeah.
man, this is crazy. So Southwick is one of those tracks, and I told you this on our show last week. I believe it was 2016. I went out for practice, and I pulled in the mechanics area because I thought I had a flat tire. I mean, that place, talk about slick. The challenging part to me about Southwick is once you get, so everything pushes out to the outside, of course. You get those big berms, right? But once those berms kind of start fading away, start pushing out too far, you have to early apex it and cut out of the turn. And basically, you're having to go on the flat part of the turn where it's all the way down to the base because it's all pushed to the outside. And then and you saw it so many times with guys yesterday, just the back end stepping out over and over again. And so I always felt I won there one time. That day, it was so fun, so easy. But every other time I went there, it was pretty much hell on earth. Was that a similar experience for you, or am I alone here?
Well, I think the difference between you and I is I feel like you always had the speed to be up front, where I was really start dependent. And Southwick exaggerates that. So if I got a bad start, there was no shot I was going to come through the pack to a top 5 or whatever. So when I got good starts there, I could run up front because I could go with the leaders and kind of be up there for a little bit. And so, yeah, for me, I really, really put an emphasis on the start. If I could start, top 5 or top 10, I would have some good days. And but that was the main thing for me. But now I see, there's guys that can come from behind there that just, I think of Tomac rides in recent years, and this weekend I think of, Tom Vialle first moto was so impressive, so impressive. You said before we turn the cameras on, you said most impressive ride of the year so far from him, and I agree, because it's so difficult to pass. You have to be so aggressive. You have to take chances, outside in, inside out. You don't know if the berm's going to go away. Everybody who watched Race Day Live to start the day at Southwick, seen Eli Tomac come into a turn, and the berm just went away, and he goes down. It's just what can happen. It happens so quick, and you can take the exact same line as you did the lap before, and it was great the lap before, and then you go into it with a little more interest speed or even the same, and the berm's gone. So, and that's why it's so impressive for guys like Hayden or Jett or Hunter, even Eli, the way they ride the track without that many mistakes is so difficult, so difficult. Just because it's ever changing. The dirt is literally, the sand's moving each and every lap. So to predict where you're going to go and where you want to go and predict the right line, I think is underrated at Southwick. I think you have to be so thinking ahead, the next lap, the next couple laps, now 15 minutes in, and be always changing and thinking ahead. And man, those guys can do that with some of the best we've ever seen, AC.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Justin. I think about the start section after the mechanics area. You drop down, you go up, you do the S turns, and like when you're coming out of there's the single on the inside, and then the outside is no single. You see over the course of the day, and we've seen it for years and years, guys start cutting out of the corner more and more to get far back to the left side, to the inside of the track, to avoid having to go through those big rollers going up the hill. Because as you know, if you're not adapting and you're not connecting the track the right way at Southwick, I don't care how fit you are, Like you can wear yourself out there. The fittest man on earth can wear themselves out there very quick. So like you said, it's in a way you can bulldog it, as I said last weekend, because there isn't a smooth line. Like you do just have to be really strong on the bike. And I think also one of the big things about Southwick is the bike is always moving underneath you. It's always moving. So you go to a place, even, you know, where we're going next week, Redbud, something like that, where it's very rough, it's deep or whatever. There's still some sections where you can kind of just be light on the bike, catch your breath, you know, just carry some roll speed into the turn, light on the brakes. Southwick, anytime your bike is on any type of lean angle whatsoever, you have to be completely locked in, because that thing can step out on you at any time. So yeah, just Southwick, yes, it's rough and yes, it's sandy, but to me, it's just the fact that the bike's always moving. That slick sand, I think, has made me more tired riding that than something with deeper sand. Yeah, if that makes sense, just because the bike is, you're going slower, bike's a little bit more predictable. But man, I guess, shoot.
Two things on the track, AC. The first one is, you mentioned just not being able to rest. Think about like a Redbud or a Millville or Hangtown, anywhere. You have jumps, and that's where we rest, right? You can take a little breath off a jump and relax, kind of let go of the handlebars.
Oh, yeah.
There's really no jumps.
Yeah, where are you pulling tear off at Southwick?
And if there's jumps, there's ruts off them, kickers off them, so you're hanging on tight anyway. So I think that's an underrated thing that not many people talk about. Another one is the most difficult part for me on that whole track was, you mentioned, you know, you do the start, you go right, you go across that section. They launched that single, you know, where Hayden passed, I believe it was Kitchen last year with that nasty scrub. Then you go left, you go right, you kind of do that whole section. But how about 10 seconds after that, there's that turning right-hand turn. You go up and then back down. How miserable is that turn? It's
bad.
Terrible, dude. You don't have your rear brake. You're trying to turn. You're trying to brake. You want to put your leg out.
Dude, I have never felt like so bad on a motorcycle in my life than that area right there. I mean, it'll make you feel like you've got like you need training wheels. It really is. We saw, I think AP went down there this weekend on the inside. Like you said, you're turning the whole time. It's slightly off camber. The bike is never balanced because there's so many bumps and ruts. There's pressure on the front, pressure on the back, trying to turn. It's just like
such a goon, huh?
And oh man, so bad. I think back to times I had a really bad day there, I think in 2016, and I'm pretty sure I was sitting down through there with like both feet out, something like that.
How'd the low back feel the next week?
Not good. Not good. And then also another section. So you do that section you talk about. We go right. Hopefully we can throw an edit up to maybe a little track map action for you guys so you can follow it. You hit that long right-hander over the hill, left, down. You know the tree turn, the right-handed tree turn right there.
Oh yeah.
Go tree. You go left, and then right there.
That right-hander
section there too. It's just something about Southwick. You're always turning.
Yeah.
Like you're always turning. And James said it well on the broadcast to like the mechanics area section. You're going fourth gear, wide open. You're going, you know, it's a slight right-hander. All the lines are just, there's, you know, you're down to like the clay base where there's big square edges and slightly turning up that thing. That's a section that, you know, going into the day is like, if I want to win this race, it's kind of going to feel like I'm risking my life right here, like at least 5 times a moto.
Yeah.
But
and that's uphill too. So you're fighting up the hill, which you guys can't really see on TV. And it's a right-hand turn, like we've said. It's like the two most difficult turns on the track are right-handers, where you want to put your leg out, but you need your brake a little bit, but you want to carry speed, but you're like, well, can I carry speed? Well, I have to carry speed because it's uphill. It's like, it's so difficult, lap after lap after lap.
And last thing, my last experience at Southwick 2023, I totally forgot about this till just now. Dude, I got done. I think I was sick. It's a bad time to be sick. That's how it's just a really bad time to be sick. Mm-hmm. And I finished the second moto. I went straight to the Alpine Stars medical unit, just passed out. Passed out.
Really? Passed out?
Oh, passed out. Done. Out cold.
Wow.
Yeah, brutal. But yeah, so that was my send off at Southwick. But man, I mean, let's just take it from the top. 450 class. Oh man, it just, the kid just keeps getting better, man. How does that work? I think, and the guys talked about it. Weech, James, JT, they talked about it a little on the broadcast. But I think, when he came back and he goes 1-1 at the first race, I think you're automatically like, this is Jett. Like he's, it's almost like, yeah, he's back. He's completely back. But I think what he showed us this weekend, is that he's got more. Like he's got more, and they've made a point about talking about it. But the first few races, he really hasn't been pulling that much of a gap on the guys. They're right there, 1-2 seconds. We just had AP on a couple weeks ago, right? And we saw that look in his eye, how confident he was. Like, Jett's right there, man. Like, I can do that. Jett's right there. Even though those guys were not winning, Jett was still winning. When you have somebody that dominant and you can keep them close, this, JB, from personal experience. It's like that confidence can propel you to be 5% better the next weekend. And I saw a guy that was determined to crush these guys' spirits this weekend. I mean, that was a beatdown.
Yeah.
Just a
from the gate drop. Absolute beatdown. And once again, it's so difficult because he makes it look so easy. He made that track look fun, didn't he?
He did.
Made it look fun. And then you pan back to some guys in 4th and 5th, amazing riders, some of the best in the world, and they make it look like a totally different track. And it just is 2 mile an hour faster everywhere, which gets him higher up on the bumps. He can carry his front wheel over another bump than the other guys. It's so amazing to watch, and it's so difficult to do. Like I never could even come close.
Nope.
And
me neither.
And to live that, and then to have Hunter second like that, it's how cool for the family. Like that's just, and the team, like that's just unbelievable. So I don't even know what else to say about Jett, Adam. I really don't even know what else to say other than he's amazing. All the words that you can think of in the dictionary that mean amazing, some of the best we've ever seen, the best we've ever, like it just, he's so good, man. He's so good, well-rounded. He was sick this weekend, he said, after the race. Sure didn't look like it with his helmet on. And it's just a pleasure to be a fan and a pleasure to watch. It truly is.
It is. And there's something about, and the Honda well. I think there's something about kind of the torque of the Honda that allows him to ride low in the RPMs. Like, you know what I'm talking about? Like he's always seems like he's never in first, always second, third, fourth. And there's something about the way that he rides. And I mentioned it for our High Point show, but just what I was talking about with Southwick and how the bike is always upset. There's something that he does with, I don't know if it's his body position or what, if he's doing it with his feet or what, but he's so good at putting the bike in the right spot. Like keep the bike where everybody else is kind of doing, the rears all, the front's low, they're coming in the corner fast, the front's low, and then they get on the gas, the back sinks down. It's like all that little movement. And we'll move on because we've said enough about Jett. I mean, like you said, what else is there to say? But there's just something about how balanced he is, on the motorcycle that just allows him to. He looked like the only guy, and you could say this about Hayden in the 250 class too, but he looked like the only guy that knew exactly where he was going on the track all the time.
Yeah.
Right. He was going in the spots that he wanted to go into. And that's hard at Southwick because like you said, it changes every lap. It's just the nature of the beast. So yeah, I mean, nothing left to say with Jett. I watch races like that and I'm like, dude, it's going to be a long decade. It's going to be a real long decade for anyone else.
Yeah. And here's a way that I can somewhat relate it for us and for the general fan that has ridden a motorcycle before. Adam, we've all went out, and you and I have experienced it, and some of you fans listening or watching have experienced it well. When you hit a corner just right and your lean angle is just perfect, you're like, yes. It's like the good golf shot, right?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a good golf shot that keeps you coming back. It's the turn at a practice track or at your buddy's house in his backyard. He's got a track that you hit a turn good and you just hit it perfect. You're like, yes, there's the right throttle, the perfect lean angle. It stood me up at the perfect time. Imagine doing that for 30 minutes plus 2 laps, week after week after week. That's what Jett does. And then Southwick even exaggerates that because now you're in sand. So if you bury it too much, it soaks the bike up. Then it goes a little bit low in the RPMs, and now you lose some time. If you stand it up a little bit early, you gotta clutch it a little bit. Where he's in that perfect lean angle just all the time. And we mentioned those 2 really, really difficult turns. Imagine you and I doing section work there, and you know it's 8.3 seconds is the magic time. Imagine doing that every single time. Like, I think for me personally, I would fluctuate. Like, if I did it perfect, let's just say it's an 8.3 and we're just doing a small section of the track, I would fluctuate from 8.3 to maybe even like 11 seconds in the sand on a turn that tough. So just think about the whole track. I'm trying to just relate it to people watching at home or listening. And that's what Jett does every time. And that's why he makes it look so easy, is just his lean angle is perfect. His balance is perfect on the bike. His RPMs, they're in the exact right place. And I'm telling everyone, to get to that point, to know your bike that well, to know your body that well, to know your positioning that well, it's everybody's dream. I mean, the guys that he's lining up against, it's their dream and their goal. That's what they're practicing to do each and every week. And I used to even say years ago, like, I could hit a turn as fast as Ryan Villapoto. If we just went to one turn, this is back when I was racing him in motocross, I could match him in that one turn all day. I'd be the same. So I'm like, well, why can't I match him for a lap or 5 laps? Well, that's the magic thing, because you hit one turn good, and then you hit another turn good, and then it ends up being, I'm 2 or 3 seconds a lap off, and that's what Jett's doing to everybody right now at the very, very highest level.
And just to add to that, every guy that is contending for podiums, say the top 5 guys, maybe even the top 10 guys, can go out there and hit that section and go as fast as Jett. Like, totally. You and I could probably do that. If we went out there and, spent 10 minutes hitting a section, we can do it. Can we do it for 30 plus 2? Absolutely not. No chance. But this is in life. This is in life too. I like to get deep, JB. This is in life.
Let's do it. Let's go.
Like, to be extraordinary, it's doing ordinary things consistently. And why Jett is able to be so consistent with things like that is, however, like the way he rides the bike, his effort level, he is not on the limit. He's found a way to go that fast at 90%. Like, there's still some room there. That's the only way you can explain. If you're just going as fast as you can go, if you're just straight up going as fast as you can go, like, you would make more mistakes than Jett does. So there's more. We see it with the burst of speed that he has. So to me, the reason why he can do these things over and over and over again is because he's found a way to go faster than everybody else at less effort. Like, he's not trying as hard. And for the guys that have been around, guys like Tomac, Webb, Barsha, Anderson, all these guys, they're not going to change the way that they ride now. Like, you can't, maybe a young rider can kind of use some influence, but it's just the way that he has his template for success and the way he rides the bike and the effort level. To me, that's why he's able to be so consistent. And yes, guys can go as fast as him sometimes, but it looks like they're giving it everything they have. Yeah. And he rarely looks like that. And that's just the facts, man. That's just
I mean, a guy like Justin Cooper, he's qualified fastest 3 weeks in a row now. He can go as fast for one lap, but then 30 plus 2. Like, it's like Jett's not even stressed during qualifying anymore. You watch him, to start the day, and it's just like, he just looks so confident and like, third, whatever, no big deal. And the gate drops, it's like, man, like the way he came out of the gate this weekend with that speed, the first few laps was just
dude, he had 5 seconds. He had like
Quick.
5 seconds, a lap and a half in.
Yeah.
Like that is so hard to do. It is
Yes.
those guys behind him are so gnarly, JB.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we'll move on from Jett. But again, just dominant performance. I don't know what the answer is. If I was out there, and I was as good as someone like a Tomac or an AP Hunter, guys that can challenge him, I think the way that you get faster, I always found the way that you get faster is to break the track down during the week. Do 3 or 4 corners and get a pit board, get a stopwatch, and try to lower your time in that section. Go as absolutely as fast as you can on the limit. Break the whole track down. And to me, breaking the track down makes it safer to be on the limit. And you got to find a way. You got to find a way to make your 100% your 90%. And to me, that was always the way to do it. Whether it's a 1-lap sprint or you're breaking the track down, to me, that's the only. It's kind of the only answer for these guys. I'm not their trainer, obviously.
Do you even think that it's that? Because obviously speed would help, but it's a track position thing right now. Like they can't start in front of him. So I think it's a start. I mean, the Hondas obviously are great off the start, but I also think, I don't subscribe to this, like the Hondas have something figured out. Like I do think they're great bikes off the start. They are, like, just the way the clutch is, and even the way the stock Honda clutch, the hydraulic clutch, has such a good release and such a good feel, which I was really picky about. And even when I was on the factory team in 2020, me and Kenny, like, we were struggling finding that feel off the start. And, if you don't have the feel off that start, like exactly where the engagement point is, exactly when it's going to disengage, like the stock Honda now comes with such an amazing clutch and just the way it feels. I don't know exactly what they're running on the factory team, but they're like, I know Kenny and Chase, when they were on the bike, they were running like a very standard clutch. And my last year racing, I want to stock lever, stock everything, because it had such a good feel off the metal grate. But also think Jett and Hunter are extremely good starters, and I think they work at it. I spent a little bit of time down there the week before Daytona a couple years ago, and basically every time that Jett went to ride, he would go to the starting gate first. And I thought that was so impressive, because most of the time, most of my career, I started to get the hang of it late when I'm like, hey, why am I doing starts at the end of the day? I don't know if you were guilty of this, but like, I would ride and then I would do starts at the end of the day. My clutch is half fried. Like, you can't even do a wheelie off the brake because your clutch is smoked.
And you're kind of already like halfway to the house at that point. You're like, oh, I'll do 5 starts, maybe 10.
I know, it's so foolish looking back on it, but he would go to the starting gate, do several starts, then go do what he had to do, whether it was testing, whether it was a moto, whatever, done. Okay, next time out, roll to the starting. Like, everything has a purpose, and it shows. Like, this isn't by accident at all what these guys are doing. 1-2, Jett goes 1-1, Hunter goes 2-2. Both of them great off the start. They were amazing lap times. I mean, that pass that Hunter made on Eli in the second moto, I mean, that was with some authority, and I'm extremely impressed with what Hunter did on the weekend.
Yeah, and that was what I was going to bring up next. And just to piggyback off your point real quick, at the playoffs last year, I believe it was at Vegas, I asked Hunter in the press conference, which I was very nervous for, by the way. I was like in the crowd, they handed me the mic, and I'm like,
what'd you say? Adam Cincerello with?
Yeah, I said, I think Adam Cincerello with Feld, or I don't know. Maybe I said NBC. I didn't know what I was supposed to say.
I love it. That's great.
But I was like, I was asking him kind of about the start map and the bike, because the metal grates, Justin, I don't know if you're a fan of the grates or not. I mean, I know towards the end of your career, man, it seemed like you were always up front on the gate. But I
never had a start map.
You never had a start map?
Never had a start map. Not on Hondas. Nope.
So so you can do, there's so many things you can do now with the map. I had one, I ran one the last couple of years with Cowie, which would basically, I liked about 7,000 to 7,500 RPM. Like we figured out that was kind of the most consistent spot to be in. And so I had a button that kept me right there, right? So it kind of makes it dummy proof. So there are things that you can do to make it a bit easier now. Often you see guys with the big starting blocks, so they can, so they don't have to worry about picking their feet up. Like it's kind of already there and locked into the side. But that, and Hunter was basically like, dude, we just practiced a lot of starts. Like we're just good. Like, yeah, the bike's good. Because I was thinking last year, I'm like, dude, it has to be the bike. Like nobody gets this good of starts for this long. It's ridiculous. I mean, I would bet if you bet $1 million on Jett Lawrence to get a hole shot, that they would pay out about $1,002,000. Like it's pretty insane, and it's one of the most impressive things. It's just he's always up front, but yeah, moving on to Hunter Lawrence, I was thinking about it. I kind of felt bad because I've looked back. I was watching some of our recent shows, and I feel like we don't talk about him enough. He's so good. Yeah. He's always there, but I think it's just one of those things. He's pretty great personality, but I would say pretty quiet. Not doing anything super exotic on like social media or saying anything crazy in the press conference or, he's not jumping a crazy quad or hanging off the back of the bike. Very calculated with what he does. And I think some of it, of course, is just the fact that, his brother is Jett. But for Hunter, removing Jett from the equation, for Hunter to come back from injury as well in Supercross and not lose, like you see how strong he was at the end of the second moto still. I mean, he's still in unbelievable shape. He's pretty much in the hunt for a win or a podium every weekend. His bad race is a fifth or a fourth. And he's just been, just really impressive. And I just don't think in general that we talk about Hunter Lawrence enough, man. The kid's special.
Yeah, I agree. You think about his last year on 250, Supercross champ, motocross champ. And I remember saying when he moved up to the 450 class, why isn't this a bigger deal? Because you just had somebody dominate the 250 class. And typically when a 250 rider dominates, even like yourself, when you move up to the 450 class, there's a lot of hype. Like here comes AC. This is a big deal. Like this guy's going to win races. He's going to potentially win championships. And honestly, I felt like when Hunter was moving up is like, wait, we need to be making a bigger deal of this. That's what I was thinking, because I'm like this guy's going to be really good. Just the way he rides the bike, obviously, riding with Jett each and every week helps, but I think he's unbelievable. He's a great rider. And I think you and I relate to Hunter a lot. I love my conversations with Hunter. He is
smart guy.
I don't know how. Yeah, very, very smart guy, very mature. And I just like talking to him. I think he has a lot of wisdom. I'm 41 years old. He's mid 20s. And I feel like I can learn some stuff from Hunter Lawrence. Like that's how mature he is. That's how smart he is. That's how he carries himself. And I love anytime I get to talk to him at the Honda truck, at the races, or wherever I see him. Spent a little bit of time with him in Australia last year for the AUS-X Open. And I really think highly of him. And I think he's okay with being under the radar a little bit. He knows how good his brother is. He knows how good Jett is, but he also knows how good he is as well. And he's very confident in his own skin. And when he doesn't get the praise, he just kind of like, whatever. I'll still go back to work and do my thing and show up and get to work.
And we've talked about it. We've talked about it a little bit, how they were brought up and how Hunter really laid the foundation for Jett. Jett will acknowledge that, as he will. But yeah, think about Hunter and how many times over the course of his career from mini bikes onwards that his ego has been tested by, just in general, take dirt bikes out of it, you're always going to be competitive with your brother, like your little brother. Like nobody wants their little brother to beat them, or in a fist fight or a dirt bike race. Like that's just the way it is, right? And Jett has always been the most hyped one. I remember the first conversation the first time I ever heard of either of them. I was talking to somebody, and they said they were talking about Hunter. They were talking about, he's doing good. They're going to come over here, but he said, but Jett, like Jett's the guy. Like Jett, you got to wait for Jett. Like he's going to be. And so, yeah, I do relate to Hunter because he had a really rocky start to his career. And he's just through all that adversity, he's come out the other side, this like very level-headed, intentional guy that strikes me as someone that, understands that he lives a great life, that because it's easy to lose track of that when it's not going your way. And just the way that he responds to adversity now, I have a lot of respect for that, because you and I have both been there on the couch wondering if we're done, wondering if it's over. And just every time I talk to him, and in general, that camp, I could say the same thing about like John and Eli, but the Lawrence camp, if I had one word to describe them, it's intentional. And intentional and discipline. Both of those guys, you see Hunter has a plan when he goes out on the track every time. Free practice, qualifying, race, doesn't matter. He's got a plan, and he's disciplined enough to control his emotions enough to go out there and stick to the plan. Of course, things happen, make mistakes. But a lot of guys, myself included, a lot of my career, man, I could not get out of my own way because my emotions would override my discipline. I couldn't see it. We've all been there, super overwhelmed, anxious, whatever. You can't grasp reality in that moment. You feel like you're 10 feet underwater, right? And I did learn how to do that as I got older. But that's what I'm so impressed by with really both of them, and Hunter especially, is their ability to stay disciplined in the most emotional moments there is. Championship on the line, or you just back against the wall, all the pressure, all the expectations. They just live in their own little world, it seems like, on the track. And yeah, very impressive. And yeah, Justin, we just got to start talking. Maybe we just need to have a Hunter Lawrence segment.
Yeah, we do. We need to get him on the show. Let's get him on the show at some point. That'd be great.
We met, man. These guests. I don't think the guests last couple, Ken, AP. It's kind of been like I don't think we really did. We plan when we started this show. Did we plan to have guests on? I feel like we didn't even really talk about that.
Dude, nothing was planned.
Yeah, we're just running it.
Just two fans of the sport, just winging it.
Pretty much. Pretty much. Hey, big deal this weekend. Huge deal. And we got to mention it because we have been, I think, justifiably a little critical. Jorge Prado, man. Signs of life. Signs of life.
Is there?
Signs of life. Oh, you're not buying it?
Nah, there were some signs of life. There was definitely some signs of life, but the track's way different.
It's sandy. I know.
He's a great sand rider. And I mentioned this a couple shows ago. Me and the kids and my wife ran into him at Whole Foods here in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And he had mentioned that he was looking forward to Southwick. And he was basically saying, look, if Southwick doesn't go well, we've got some big issues. And that told me right there, like, I just felt like he was going to will himself to doing well at Southwick just because I think he's so comfortable. But in saying that, second moto had a great start. I mean, I don't know if you watched the qualifying sessions, but his second qualifier, he was fastest, and like by
a while,
3 seconds or something. Like it was by a lot. So that to me that's no fluke. That's just not saying, oh, I'm a great sand rider, I'm going to make it work. So yeah, I think there's definitely signs of life. In hearing a couple of his post-race interviews, there's still a lot of work to be done on the motorcycle. I think he's making some changes, brought Chad Reed in to help him out, which we'll talk about here in a second. Chad moved him and his family down to Club MX, so he spends a lot of time there during the week, obviously with Tate, and Jorge's there now. So I think it's just a natural fit. And I think it's great for Jorge to be open-minded enough to have people help. Look, he needs some help right now on whatever it is. Maybe it's bike setup. Maybe it's getting used to these tracks. Maybe it's just getting used to the U.S. Chad's obviously a multi-time champion of the sport. Very, very smart with the motorcycle, with the body, everything. So I think it's cool. I think it's great to see Chad there. They interviewed him on the broadcast, which was cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've seen Chad quite a bit down at Club MX lately, and there's definitely signs of life, but I think there's still a long ways to go. I think there's still a long ways to go to get up there and battle for some podiums.
I agree. And yeah, with the interview, Will asked Chad, like, are you working with Jorge? And he was basically like, I'd like to. Seems like they've been talking. Obviously, they're at the same facility, but maybe they're not officially working together. But I think it's really important, and I know you know this too, when you're underperforming, everybody you're around has an opinion about how you need to get better.
They've all got the answers. They've all got the answers.
Every one of them, man. You got to do this. Yeah, I just feel like you're being this way, or you don't do this enough, or and you either have to have an inner confidence in yourself enough to just stick to your plan, be intentional, like we were just talking about, or you need to have somebody that you know knows. Like Chad Reed, look at the guy's resume. Look at how long his career was, how successful he was. You know that he's been there. He's done that. That's a voice that you can respect and trust and listen to easily because it's right there on paper. Like, look at his career. He did it. So I think that would be huge for Jorge. And I'm right there with you. I saw in the second moto specifically, he kept Jett within 3 seconds for a few laps, and I thought that was huge for him. Like, I think that'll go a long way in him just improving going forward. He didn't he looked like he was pushing, but he didn't look out of control. You know, he didn't look out of control. And the way that I saw him riding the bike, how loose he was, just the lines he was taking, how in control he was, it made me ponder, like, I think he could just wake up one morning, find the feel, and just be that guy. Yeah. Anywhere. Like, that's that's kind of the thoughts that I was having after I watched that race. You know, of course, he crashed both motos, actually. I think he was 5th overall, his best weekend by far. So that's got to go a long way for his confidence, you would think. But then, like you said, it's like he probably in his head was like, dude, I need to win. Like, I can win Southwick. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So maybe he probably didn't get as much confidence from that as he would have at a Hangtown or Thunder Valley or something like that. But it was cool to see him up there. I think it's great for pro motocross. I think it's great for, our series in general to have somebody of his stature, come over, very successful in Europe, come over here and be battling. It's like, it makes it feel more like a world championship. This is the series that everybody that wants to be competitive on a dirt bike, that wants to do it for a living, they all want to come here and do it here because the best are here. So I'm rooting for him in that aspect. One thing I did notice, which was interesting, and I've seen it, I saw it at Fox Raceway too, a couple other places. He's lining up outside of Jett on the gate, his gate selection. And to me, that says you go to the inside. You go to the inside of the guy that you think is going to that's going to be a really good starter. If you feel like you can get the whole shot, you go to the inside of the best starter. At least that's how I looked at it. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're not completely comfortable, if you're kind of second guessing yourself on whether you can get a whole shot or not, you go to the outside of the best starter because he's going to get a good jump. He's going to come over on everyone else, and you can just slide around the outside, be, somewhere in the top 5. So I thought that was interesting. We were talking about it coming into the series, how he, so far in his career, has been probably the best, right there with Jett, right there with Hunter on consistency off the gate. I mean, some of those whole shots in Europe, man, wow.
Yeah,
Like
crazy.
he's nasty off the gate. So yeah, just an interesting little tidbit there. I don't think he is confident yet that he can get to the first turn first.
Yeah. I found it interesting that not only was he outside of Jett the second moto, he was in between Jett and Hunter, which are the two best starters in the sport right now. I mean, they just are. And so I thought it was risky, but then, they had that overcam footage and Jorge got an amazing
He
jump.
did.
Jett still beat him to the first turn, pushed him a little bit wide. So I don't know. I thought that start was really good, especially off
It
the
was.
grate.
It was.
Yeah, it was a good start. But
And you make a good
going in the
point.
middle.
Sorry, JB, go ahead. Didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
just risky going and lining up in the middle. It tells me that he still has confidence with his starts.
Yeah,
And to echo what you were saying just about him waking up one morning and all of a sudden it's there.
mm-hmm.
I think that more than ever now, because I just think we talked about it in Supercross a little bit, just like he has the mind of a champion.
Yes.
And now listening to him talk, I do think once he finds that setting, and this doesn't really apply to many people on the planet. I think he has the confidence, which being a champion that he is, I do think once they figure the bike out, and hopefully they will sooner than later, I think he's at the front a lot.
Yeah.
I do. I think
I
he
agree.
gets starts. I don't think I don't know. I don't see him beating Jett, man.
No.
I just don't. But
No,
I do think he battles him and he's up there. And I just think he has that mindset. So I'm here for it when they get it figured out.
I think he can, if he can get everything figured out off the gate, he's going to be up there a lot. And I think he could capitalize if Jett has an off day, like a Hangtown first moto situation, miss the setup, not feeling it. Like I think he has the potential to beat him in a moto or a race here or there. But for him and anyone else, they're going to have to make some serious changes if they plan on contending for championships.
Yeah.
Jett's got to stay healthy. Of course, that's been kind of his Achilles heel as of late. But you make a good point. I guess scrap that about the starts. But I have noticed him going outside of Jett, but in the same breath, he went in between Hunter and Jett. So that would say the opposite of what I was saying, that he's got confidence that he's not just going to get closed off there. So, yeah, I don't know.
And he went right after the gate. He was going right.
He was trying to go right.
But
so
Jett
hard.
matched him. He's like, no. You're not going right yet. I'm going to run you wide. So it was kind of interesting. It was like a battle of, and sitting there, they say you not been there. You've sat over a gate hundreds of times. When you're sitting there, for sure those two are thinking, all right, Jorge's on my left. If I get a jump, he's going to come to the right, try and block me. Oh, no, I'm going to try and get the best jump possible. I'm going to lock in. I'm going to be extra focused, extra intentional on this start. Hunter was saying the same thing probably to himself, but then Jorge's in between like, I'm going to show everyone right now that I'm still a good starter. The bike has the power. Like, I'm going to get there first. And he almost willed his way and got it done, but Jett still beat him there.
Yeah, man, when you're confident, there was times, plenty of times in my career where I was just so confident I was getting to the first turn first, I'd line up next to anybody. Like
if I
liked the gate, I didn't care who was to my right or who was to my left. So I don't know, maybe Jorge is there already, but it was a great start.
Yeah,
it was a great start.
What's up with that gate right to the left of the box? Hayden lined up there, whole shot of both motos. Jett lined up there.
I think that, yeah, I mean, I guess Southwick with that right-hand first turn, because occasionally in the past it's gone the other way. I think there's always been the first kind of 5 gates on the outside have kind of been usable, but I feel like a lot of the times the guys that qualify, the top 5 guys normally go inside.
Yeah,
the box, like just a couple inside, maybe one inside too. That's a pretty long way. Like you're adding a fair amount of space to cover to get to the first turn first. But sometimes it's just to each his own, and how how it is. You got to be able to see yourself getting the start. You got to look at your gate, see the angle, and be confident that you're going to make the turn and all that. So maybe it just looked better. When I was real confident, dude, I loved sweeping around the outside. It was so fun.
Yeah, line up a little bit further outside. I just wondered if it was maybe a little harder packed. out in front of the gate, you know?
Yeah,
Wondered if it
man.
was maybe not quite as deep because it was a little bit wider than, than I thought guys would go. But
Hey,
obviously the guys that had the first pick, that's the gate they chose.
bring back dirt starts.
You think?
That's where
For
I'm at.
motocross and supercross or
That's where I'm
just
at.
motocross?
It's Supercross. Normally you have some shorter start straights and whatever. Um, yeah, outdoors. Like outdoors, there's so many. It's all about the dirt. It's all about controlling the traction that you're having. Each individual surface is different. Like in every race you go to, so I think it adds a whole nother dimension. For instance, I was a great starter, but every time I
Mhm.
went to Southwick, except for the one time, I could never really figure out how to get a start because I
Yeah.
would let go of the clutch and my back end would just sink down no matter
And
how
how
hard I
deep
packed
the
the
ruts
gate.
were, right?
And
Yeah.
eventually I figured out to build basically a ramp off
Mhm.
the plywood.
Yeah.
I would have my mechanic build that thing up and I would back my bike almost all the way on top so it's already face on an angle down. And I
Yeah.
figured out how to get, but that dimension to me, that's fun. Like that's what makes being a good starter. It's also about in your mechanic too, but knowing how to pack the gate.
Mhm.
It changes from venue to venue. And yeah, I just think motocross, like just give me some dirt. Give me some dirt. I was way better off the dirt than I was the great. So maybe I'm a little biased there, but yeah, keep it for Supercross, but let's just go dirt starts.
I'd get on board with that. I
Yeah, why
like
not?
that.
I feel like the
Yeah.
fans are on my side. You guys can let me know if I'm crazy. Let's get into Eli Tomac. JB, I want you to have the floor on this one. I'm just going to sit here and listen to you spit some facts. Give it to me.
Well, look, 3-3 on the day. It's just
Are
a
you
couple
fine with that?
things.
Are you
What's
fine with
that?
that? You're
Yeah, I don't
fine with
mind that.
3-3?
I don't mind that. I'm fine with it. I love seeing him out there. Look, we've talked about it time and time again. Love it. He's happy. He's laughing. He's having fun. He's at an older age, 3 kids at
He's
home,
earned it.
millions of dollars in the bank. The list goes on. He's still there. We can watch him as fans. Love it. He probably wants to be closer to Jett and Hunter, but he wasn't this weekend. A lot of his track position, if he could get a hole shot, get out in front of those guys, would it be a little bit different? Now, Hunter made the pass second moto, which I thought was that to me was one of the most impressive things of the day. And then for Eli to lose that toe on him, you never know what's going on. Was he struggling with the bike? Was he just not fast enough? You just never quite know. But to see Eli Tomac get straight up beat like that at Southwick, I don't know if we've ever seen that. And I just think you have to tip your hat to Jett and Hunter, man. I
100%.
really do. I think this is a circumstance where you just say those guys were incredible. They had their bikes figured out. They had their starts figured out. They were fit. They were ready to go this weekend. And he still got on the podium, still collected another nice little payday. And I honestly think it's fine, AC. What do you
Yeah.
think?
I mean, he's competitive, right? I
Yeah.
mean, he's not going out being a podium guy, a top 5 guy with chance. He's got enough speed to win a moto here and there, especially,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's just not your day. Like sometimes guys are just feeling it and you can't figure out how the hell they're going so fast.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I love about Eli is that he's a no BS guy. Like he'll tell all the stuff we're saying, he knows it. He'd say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, those guys were just better. Like that's what he would say. Eli's really never talking about, at least as of late, really never hear him saying, "Oh, the bike" or "all this." It's just like, yeah, I got beat. And
Yeah.
he still looks happy to be there. Didn't look super pissed off in the press conference to me. But one thing I will say, and I got to tread lightly here a little bit too, because Eli is an icon of the sport, a legend, always will be, Hall of Famer. And I was teammates with him. I've always been, since I was a little kid, I loved watching, even when he wasn't winning all the time. He's
Mm-hmm.
on Suzuki 85s. I would love watching that guy ride. Like I would go to the fence and watch his races. He's a few years older than me, so always in different classes. And I was excited every time I got a chance to race him, like in a 85 Open or something like that. Like I've always just been, for whatever reason, I just like the way he goes about things. He's such a unique guy. right? And everybody in the sport, everybody behind the scenes would say the same thing. Like he's just Eli. Like Eli's just Eli.
Yeah.
And so I want to preface that by saying that I am always been very supportive, very positive towards Eli, and still am. But I heard James on the broadcast say in the first moto this past weekend, he's like, Eli had the speed. He just didn't have the track position. And I disagree with that. I don't think that, and there's been times this year where Eli has ridden amazing, but there are also a lot of times, even if he started second, he's still not going to win. Like Jett sometimes is just on another level. Like, and that's just how it is. It's not a knock to Eli, and same thing for Hunter this weekend. Like, it's not a knock to Eli at all. But I think when you watch Eli and you watch Jett or you watch Hunter, Eli looks like he's trying really hard, and those guys look like they're not. Right, and that's, some of it's just riding style. But to me, I'm seeing Eli, and I love it. Like, I think he's overriding the bike a little bit right now. I do. I think he's just a little. Normally, he's so good at getting his feet on the pegs quickly coming out of the turns, because he is so hard on the gas, so hard on the clutch coming out of the turns. We've talked about that a million times. He holds that thing wide open in the middle of the turns. So he gets his feet on the pegs to be in control of the bike on exit. Right now, I'm seeing him off balance on the exit of turns a lot. You see his feet flying to the right, flying to the left. And look, I'm one to talk. I don't know if I could find a picture of me racing when my feet aren't, off in no man's land. Like, I'm not saying I, have the, but yeah. I just think he's overriding it a little bit because he's trying to find it.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to find it. And I think that is amazing because, like we've talked about a million times, he doesn't have to do that. Like, he can go race another 5, he could probably race another 5 years and be good with that kind of podium top 5 guy, take a lot less risk, cash it in, have fun, bring the family along. But he's trying to find it. He knows he's got to go to the next level. And I think that's what you're seeing right now, is just he's trying to find it in his own way. And I don't know, JB, do you see that at all? Do you see the kind of the overriding the bike a little bit on occasion here or there?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely see the extra effort trying to get there, trying to match Jett's speed. And unfortunately, it's just difficult. Nobody can match that speed, even Eli Tomac right now. So, but I love that he's trying. You wonder if, he loves a certain bike setup. You wonder if he's going to have to start throwing some things at the bike to maybe get to that next level. Obviously, his fitness has never been an issue, and he's never really had. You think about over the years, I literally just thought of this right now, but I don't think he's ever really had to find extra speed. Like, he's had to find consistency. He's had to find better starts.
Yeah.
Can you think of a time where he's actually had to find more speed? Like, I think about, Dungey and him kind of battling. He had more speed, but he didn't have the consistency of Dungey. And then you think about the Roxon battles, and maybe Kenny had more speed than him at times. But
2016. That's the only time he was coming
Kenny
back.
Had more speed
15
than him that year, yeah.
15, he did both his shoulders. That's under Vialle. Comes back first year on Cowie, first year with the new team. Coming back, he got second a lot. Kenny was on another level that summer. But that's different circumstances. He was still kind of building himself back up after that injury. So I think your point is completely valid.
Yeah, so I think he's just trying to find a new level, which, I think back to, like, when you're first, say you're on 80s and super minis and you're trying to find a new level and you crash a lot. You always go through these crashing phases. You're like, oh, I'm going to a new level though. And now you find your new normal and you stop crashing. It's almost like Eli's going through one of those now. Not that he's crashing, but he is making a lot of mistakes. Yeah. And it's fun to see. It's fun to see his effort, and he's going for it.
It is.
So,
and
it's fun to watch.
And look, I think in anything, I think in any motorsport or any sport in general, we all fixate on winning. And Eli has won so much that will always be the standard for him. Um, but you don't have to there's nothing wrong with what he's like, getting third, getting second, getting fourth, getting fifth. It's hard. Like, it's
Yes.
hard to do. And so sometimes I
Yes.
just think that we can write, if you don't win, it's just like, especially if somebody's Eli's stature, like, it's just failure, right? He's not, but he's also accomplishing a lot. I mean, he's been on the podium a lot, coming back off injury. And I personally, I just like I said, I just like that he's trying to find it. Like, he knows he can't keep doing the same things. He knows it's just not going to cut it anymore. And I do think there's more in there. I really do. I really do. And I think we'll see it this summer. I'm not sure how consistently it will be, but I do think there will be races in the rest of this championship, in the playoffs, where you go like, oh, wow, like, that might be the best we've ever seen Eli ride. Like we talked about at San Diego Supercross this year.
Yes.
I think there's going to be moments like that, because the thing that Eli has going for him right now is he's already done it all, man. He's already does it. He doesn't need this. Like, he doesn't need this to beat Jett like he needs to breathe air. So it would be easy for a guy that felt that way to be discouraged by like a beatdown like this weekend. But Eli is playing, we've talked about it, he's playing with house money. So I think it's going to be easier for him to just be like, I don't need to do it, but I want to do it. And I think that's dangerous.
And I hope the fans are okay with that. Like, they should be, because you bring up a great point. A guy like Eli Tomac, and actually Ken Roxon has went through this, and he's accepted it so great. And it's honestly, in my opinion, being you and I are good friends with Ken, I think it's helped him have a better life in general. And
Definitely.
I think that's what we're seeing Eli as well. Like, he's somewhat accepted that. And I want the fans, not that they haven't, but a lot of them haven't, because they're like, well, we need Eli to win. And even, you mentioned James on the broadcast, like, I almost feel like we're hoping for this. We're hoping Eli has that speed. We're hoping he can match Jett. But I don't know if he's going to be able to. I think at times, for sure, he's going to be able to, like you said. But I just hope that the fans can be okay with Eli being a podium guy because he's here. And Ken Roxon being a top 5 guy on podiums every now and again, winning a race a year or 2 a year. Like, we need to be okay with that, to keep these guys around and praise them for that. Because like you said, it's so difficult to do. And I think that's when, guys like Dungy and Villapoto, you and I have talked to Ricky Carmichael about it, that the standard was so high for so long. It's like, when that standard slips just a little bit, you're done. Pull the plug, made enough money, I'm good. And I think nowadays, I don't know if we've just learned more or they're accepting it more. I've had personal conversations with a couple of these guys just about how, if you can accept being just a podium guy or just a top 5 guy and still enjoy the life that you live, because we're addicted to it. We love it. We love the travel. We love the prep. We love the process of getting the bike to a certain point. We love the process of getting our body to a certain level to try and to perform the best we can on Saturday. You don't have to give that up just because you're not winning, or you're not winning 7 races a year, whatever it may be, because you have this freak of nature, Jett Lawrence, now. Like, just be okay with trying to match him at times. And so I love it. I think a 3-3 is totally fine in a nutshell. Went off on a little bit of tangent there, but
No,
I
love
hope
it.
that the fans can really appreciate what we're seeing from guys like Tomac, even guys like Anderson. Barsha came back this weekend. Barsha got a 9th this weekend. That's not Barsha's standard. He went 10-9, but like, let's appreciate that. Like, let's celebrate seeing the 51 back on track. So, and that's my 2 cents, AC.
I could agree with every word. I love your tangents, JB. You're just straight spitting wisdom. And I really, guys, our listeners, I really don't like just talking about my career just to relive the glory days. JB, you know this. I don't. And even sometimes, like, our producer on Race Day Live is like, relate it to an experience of yours. I'm like, man, I don't want to talk about me. But I end up, the reason why I go back, and it's so to relate to the experience, to go and be there. And because I can't tell you what Eli's thinking, but I can tell you what I was thinking under similar circumstances at a certain time in my career. So
Absolutely.
preface that, but it's it's just so easy. And you saw it with RV. We've all had those, like, you know, pulled to the side, you know, I've had a beer with RV. You're sitting there just, I think a bolt from my desk. Yep. Look, check this out.
Uh-oh. The desk is falling apart. We've made it a few weeks, though.
Look at this thing. Just fell out. It's a little loose. It'll be fine.
DIY project at home. Bolts are falling out.
I'm super proud of myself that this thing is still standing, though, to be honest. Okay, back to my point. It's very easy. It's very easy to let whatever the fans' expectation is, like whatever it feels just like the general expectation of you from the guys behind the scenes in the pits to your team to the fans. It's like you can end up just projecting that onto everyone, and it can make it not fun. Like it can make it not it like Kenny is a great example. The guy was a phenom from the time he could walk, basically. Won everything pretty much all the time. Youngest GP wins. Who wins a GP at 15? Like, it's insane.
Crazy, right?
Wins that title, comes over here, like does amazing things. And it would have been easy for him. He was always used to winning, and it took him some time, but it would have been easy for him to call it. Like, he had enough money then by far to live an amazing life. It'd be really easy. But instead of calling it, he found a way to accept that his best is good enough for him, even if it's not good enough for other people. Like, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do everything I can, and that's going to be good enough for me. And that's what took me so long to figure out. Like, I grew up with the expectation, and I lived and died with that. I took that with me everywhere I went, you know, and on the track, it's like, it's so easy to let that kind of suck the enjoyment out of what you're doing. But to the point, going back to Eli, I think he obviously at this point in his life, he knows who he is. He knows what he's done, right? So Eli doesn't strike me as a guy that's going to let anybody's expectations, like, say the fans were super, on his butt about not winning all the time. I don't think that would be the reason why he would hang it up. Like, if he thinks he's doing good, he's still going to be out there. That's a hard place to get to, though, Justin.
Yeah,
it's a hard place.
No
that
doubt.
Inner belief to go out there and do your best and not care about anything else is hard. But yeah, grateful to have Eli still out there.
3-3 on the day. Solid day.
Pretty good.
One other 450 guy I want to touch on.
Okay,
then we'll go 250s. Shout out RJ Hampshire.
So good.
Dude, 450 guy. I mean, 8-4 from basically last the first moto to 8th, and then a solid 4th place in the second moto. I mean, on a really tough track. And I know RJ grew up in Florida and he's a sand guy, but overall, just throughout this season, since he got on that 450, I've been impressed. He's riding that thing really, really well, and I'm excited for what's to come in Supercross and years from now, what he can build into as a 450 racer.
And I grew up in Florida. RJ grew up in Florida. He was at all the local races I was at, basically. So I watched him come up, and there's just guys that are around that that they're pretty good, but they're just not going to make it for whatever reason. You just have this feeling that they're not going to make it. That was RJ, man.
Really?
All mini bikes. Oh yeah, I was like, yeah, he's pretty good, but I don't know. I just don't see it. And man, am I eating my words? Like, I always have been cool with RJ. I would never said that out loud to anybody. It's just a thought I had when I was a kid, right? But he has willed himself. He's been pro since 2014. He has willed himself to having the career that he's having right now. I mean, talk about a guy, maybe the toughest guy on the track. And there's nobody out there going to try harder than him ever. And to go from last to 8th in the first moto on that track, it's hot. You still have some in the tank for the second moto, 4th, best moto of the year. JB, I'm right there with you, man. Very impressive. It's been quiet. He's kind of in that spot that we've talked about, that 5 to 10 range that you don't get much TV time back there. Let's face it. You don't get that much TV time.
Yeah,
but
that's
every
a good
time
spot for him right now. That's a good place to live, though,
It's
for
a
him.
fantastic place. It's an
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic place. And every time you watch him ride, he looks well within himself.
Hmm.
Well, he's not trying to do too much, knows who he is. I think there's a lot of room for growth there too. It's like you saw in the second moto, like something like that is going to go so far for him as the season goes on. Just having that moto, being fourth, knowing that you have that fitness on maybe the toughest track of the year. So I think RJ, I don't know if we got to grade him as we did on our show last week, but A plus, man. He
Yeah.
is. I'm not sure if he's exceeding my expectations because I know how good he is,
Hmm.
but he's doing. I imagine Husqvarna is very happy with what he's doing. He is in a perfect spot to learn and build, and be a guy that could be a top 5 guy for a few years.
Yeah. Especially when we get this big changing of the guard.
Oh yeah,
Tomac retires and Kenny retires and Cooper Webb retires. There's going to be this big turnover. RJ could be the one to take advantage of potentially being a top 5 guy, podium guy. A couple funny things about RJ. So I remember watching him at Loretta Lynn's, and I think he had just gotten the Geico Honda ride, and wasn't he kind of, him and Jordan Smith were kind of going back and
oh
forth. And
yeah.
I heard that he was a baseball player, and I love stick and ball sports. I grew up playing them myself, and I found myself even, I was professional for many years at this point. I found myself like quietly cheering for RJ Hampshire for many years. I've never told him this, but like I was a fan of his because of his story. And then he came to Australia one year. I was racing the championship over there. It was Ozx Open in Sydney, and I was racing for Urive, who's kind of like the factory Honda team over there. And RJ just had flown over just for a one-off race. So he was pitting under the truck and stuff that weekend. And so I spent a little bit of time with him. And I've really never told anyone this, but he made this comment to me. And I don't even think he meant it this way, but he was like, I was a little bit older at this time, but I was still getting podiums in America over here.
Yeah.
I was winning championships in Australia. I'm probably making, I don't know, 700 and 900 grand a year at this time.
It's nice, dude. What
And
year?
but he was like, hey, it's awesome that you can like still race for a living and you can still like, yeah. And I was like,
Who's this
dude,
guy?
what are you talking about? And then I won or got second that night or whatever. And I think I lapped him in the race. And I remember thinking like, who's this young punk? I knew who he was. Obviously I was like a secret fan of his.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, he's talking to me like I'm like this chump
50.
that's like barely hanging on, like just holding on by a thread, and I'm making 60 grand a year and I can't make main events. And I'm like,
That's brutal.
dude, I don't remember exactly what year it was, but it was close to me winning Daytona and being, top 5 guy in the series. So I've never told him that. He's probably going to find out about it now, but that one stung for a little bit. I wasn't an RJ fan for a while, but now I'm coming back around. I'm coming back around.
I bet, dude. That is, I'm sure he
probably didn't mean it that way, but I was like, man, what's he talking about?
I don't know.
Funny story, little backstory.
If anything, too, it is a compliment because you were like very consistent. And you were around for a long time. He was probably your first full season was what, 04?
I was a fill-in 04, yes. Like first full season was 06, I believe. Yeah, long time ago.
I think, yeah, there's a different angle to look at that, and because it's rare. I totally get it, but it's also just rare to have a career as long as yours. Like you were consistent. You were never holding on by a thread. There was never a time, even your last year, where it was like, oh, this guy's ready to go. I mean, you could have kept going if you wanted to,
Yeah, I probably could have. I mean, that's something to be proud of, though. Like top 10 overall in the 450 class my final year. I think I got 7th in my final race. So I never wanted to be hanging on by a thread. So I think that's why it hurt so bad in that moment. And like I said, probably doesn't even remember what he said. But I remember thinking in that moment, like that one stung a little bit. That one stung.
We need to do.
But I'm a fan now. I'm back.
I want to do a under the plugged in umbrella. I want to do a Justin Brayton. I want to have you on plugged in. I haven't done one of those podcasts in a long time. I want to get the whole rundown, dude. I feel like all the little tidbits, you keep some, you don't keep things close to the chest, but you're just not one to, yap about yourself a lot. And every little story I hear about your career, I'm always like, damn, that's crazy. Like, it's such an unconventional route. So we need to do
Yeah,
that. We need
there's
to,
some good stuff in there. But
yeah,
I think going back to RJ's last thing, I think that's why I liked him so much was I could relate, like wasn't really like you said, he was not gonna make it. You didn't think he was one of the guys, the kids growing up that you've seen, he's not gonna make it. Heard about the stick and ball thing, and I just felt like it was a feel good story, and it's still a feel good story. And just wanted to give him a shout out. 8-4 on the weekend. Solid. Well, let's see what he is in points right now. He's 6th in points. I mean, it's solid.
solid. You want to go 250s now?
Let's do 250s. I want to start with, can we talk about Hayden's week?
Yeah,
And just,
absolutely.
did you follow him a little bit on social media?
Yeah,
Like the
I saw he
weekend
did
off?
Sports Center.
What's that?
I saw he did Sports Center.
Yeah, but even before that, he was out in LA hanging out, looked to be having some fun.
No
Like
way.
I just love it. It's like it's so hard to be that guy and be the 1-1 guy on the weekend. And then, like you said, he goes and does Sports Center. And I just want to, and look, everybody's different, but for me personally, that would eat up so much mental space because I would be a little bit stressed out to go to Sports Center. You're a little bit nervous. They fly a private jet up to the Northeast. They stayed in North Carolina, I believe, all week, riding at the Bennett's compound, hanging out on the lake, having some fun. But that would eat up a lot of matches. I like to say every day you have 10 matches to burn. That would burn about 7 of them for me. Just going to do that interview at Sports Center. And then he does what he does on the weekend. Like he's living both sides. That's so difficult to do and doing it so well. It's fun to watch, man. Fun to watch both sides.
And we
Both
really haven't
personal and
seen
race.
it. We've seen, that Jason Lawrence, like, very naturally gifted on a motorcycle and just completely unhinged off the track, like no discipline. We've seen that, but we've never seen someone, because in the sport in general, you tell me if I'm wrong, there's this view that anything you do outside of you go for a late dinner, have some drinks or something on a Tuesday, or like that is not allowed. Like you are undisciplined, you're a loser. Like if you do that, you have to be completely all in and never deviate from that path.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one or the other, but I think there's a middle ground. I really do think that there's a middle ground. And Hayden is the type where you said he was in LA.
Yeah.
So he goes from LA to North Carolina to do Sports Center. Like me, I'm like, man, I got to do my hour-and-a-half bike ride on Monday. I got to do this on Tuesday. I got to make sure I have all that, because that's the way I was raised, was like, okay, you're doing this. Like you're not doing anything else. There's no room. I didn't know moderation. I knew all in, discipline, whatever. But because Hayden doesn't think that way, right? He can go and do these things and it's not going to throw him off. It's not going to affect his performance. He knows that. So he can do that. Like he can do that where maybe you or maybe me, we go and do that and we show up, we're going to the line of the second moto on Saturday and we're like, I don't know. Do I have it? I kind of had a big week.
Yeah.
Kind of had a big week. So I like that he is showing that you can have a bit of a life, like a bit, and be dominant and be a great athlete, be a great dirt bike racer, because there's some stories back in the day, old CR22 and Ricky and those guys, man, they, McGrath, of course, and we all know how the 90s were, but there's some, your favorite racers back in the day were probably a little looser than you imagined, but
they were, yes.
I just think that I think it's cool what he's doing. He's carving his own path, even with like his social media posts. Like it's not just everybody gets on there, posts a slide, their pictures of, the race, and they give a little race report. And like, I did the same thing. It's just kind of what you do, but he's following his own, he's doing his own thing. He's being original in a lot of the ways that he kind of goes about his business. So I like it, man. I think that's great. And then Sports Center, That's huge. Why can I not go on the ESPN app and pull up results from the dirt bike race from Southwick?
Yeah, that's interesting. Huh?
Why?
It's a good point.
We've got all sorts of stuff. There's badminton. There's like, table tennis,
Yeah.
bowling. Like you got to be able to get dirt bikes on there.
Mm-hmm. That was cool. I watched it. I watched Brian and Hayden both on Sports Center. Very cool for our sport. Wish it happened more often. And I love what they're doing. Dude, flying private jet there, and they're flying private to the races and back, and like it's just.
I know he's making
shows
money.
how much money you can make, and also, what this sport brings. Like I don't know. I just think it's great. You think about the Ricky, Chad, James days; they were all flying private, and now it's sort of back. And love to see it, and love to see that they're sharing all of it. It is cool.
What's Hayden making this year before taxes?
Well, you think he's close to $1 million salary as a 250 guy, or no?
I could see 750.
Yeah, by the time Monster, and because he's getting some
Monster
Monster
definitely
money.
pitch in.
Yeah,
Sure.
so let's say it's 800. Then he's getting, well, he won't 500 for Supercross. He's going to be 500 for motocross. There's another mil, maybe another 500 for SMX. He might be close to 3 million.
Didn't he say somewhere that he's getting close to $100,000 to win? I'm pretty sure I saw that on X. I don't know. You guys, our listeners, you guys go and do your own research. But typically a 250 guy, it's like 50 to 60 grand, right? For a win. If he's close to 100 too, that probably means he doesn't get much for second or third, but bold strategy. I mean, I think what do you think he clears? Maybe like 3-4 million at the end of the year?
I'd be surprised if it's 4, but I think maybe close to 3. Yeah.
I mean, you got to be making somewhat. If you're flying private as much as he's flying private, I mean, I know Brian's done really well for himself too. I don't know. He's got the chain. He's got the watch. How about that? Before we get into Vialle, everyone else in the 250 class, how about? Did you see Jett's after the race? The little. I don't know if he was mocking Hayden or if he was just like Jett is a very lighthearted, like he really is, guys. I promise you, like he is a great kid. He really is genuinely a great kid. So I don't think, but I think he was trolling him a little bit. He hit him with the shotgun, then he was like,
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
That's
whether or not he was or wasn't, Hayden thinks he was. And a lot of fans think that he wasn't. And I didn't see it. I've just had a few people send it to me like, hey, what do you think of this? Whatever. I'm here for all of it, AC. I'm here for all of it. I cannot wait. I think I said this on the last show. I cannot wait till next summer. We think Hayden's moving to 450 next summer. I'm here for it, man. I'm so here for it.
One thing I want to point out before we move on is Hayden's podium speeches now. Like he's very dominant. He's been very dominant, the most dominant he's ever been in his career right now. And his podium speeches have been super mellow. Like he's not rubbing it in everyone's face. He's pretty gracious with like the way that he's winning and just the way that he's kind of going about after. Like, yes, he's confident but I like that. Like he's been brash, he's been cocky over the course of his career, but I think I like the humility that he's been showing on the podium. I don't know. I don't watch like interviews and stuff during the week and all that, but I felt like he's been kind of mellow on the podium.
I mean, there's nothing to say really. Like no one's challenging him or like, I mean, you can only rub it in so much. I just think when he starts talking, I think that's when he feels threatened a little bit. Think of Cole Davies. You think of Chance Hymas. You think of Kitchen when Kitchen was getting close last year. And then that off season, like I feel like when people get close, that's when the smack talk starts. When he's just straight up winning, he's just literally just letting his work on the track do the talking.
Kind of looks bored, like on the podium after the race.
This weekend he did,
It looks like it doesn't look like it takes a lot out of him either. Even when I was in shape, I came off. I was red in the face, snot everywhere, like dripping wet with sweat. But let's go to Vialle. Let's go to your guy, Tom Vialle. First moto came from way back, ripping through the field, and I was like, "Oh, that's Tom Vialle." I'm like, "He's back! Like
back.
that's him."
Yeah.
And obviously, overseas guy, good in the sand, but still, that kind of body language that he showed, how aggressive he was. To me, I watched him ride. He looked great, but it also looked repeatable to me. Didn't get crazy. Wasn't making a bunch of mistakes. JB, it looks like he can do that every time. It really does. So great. I thought great moto. Great weekend for Vialle.
Yeah, 3-3 on the weekend, second overall. Second moto looked a little bit flat, most likely from that first moto charge. That can take a lot out of you. And folks that are watching or listening to this, I can't really stress enough how the turnaround time in between motos is zero.
None.
Like it's just zero. Like you literally pull off the track. Like, so he got third. He has to go to the podium, and you live this for
And
many, many
third
years.
is
You go
the
to the
last
podium.
guy.
You do your interview. So now you've blown 15 minutes of the hour that you have. And then you ride back to the truck. You got to debrief a little bit. Hey, let's go a little bit softer on the shock. Let's stiffen the forks. Let's do this, whatever. Hey, watch this footage real quick, this section, blah, blah, blah. So then you review some footage as your trainer or whoever, your girlfriend, your wife, whatever, trying to give you some food to eat. Oh, I'm not that hungry. My stomach still hurts from the first moto. Well, you have to eat because your moto's coming up. Like, you got to get ready in 20 minutes. Like, right, Adam? It's so difficult to get ready for that next moto. And he just had a huge adrenaline boost by that comeback. Great ride and a lot of effort to pass all those guys. And now you got to go to second moto. And just on the line, I remember thinking on some races that I had like that, like, taking a deep breath, like, all right, we're back here again. We're here again. And it takes a while to kind of get going again. And that's what it looked like for Tom Vialle in that second moto.
Yeah, flat. Like you said. And flat means in our sport, flat is when it takes you a while. Like you feel tired, you feel sleepy almost on the gate. Then you go out there and it starts to come to you a little bit more. It's like you feel like you're not going to have anything left. And then you find out that you can just keep going and keep going. And that is because Tom has obviously a great base. He's got a great, great base fitness. But yeah, I think Tom is one of the only guys on the track that has a chance to challenge Hayden. I think we've talked about it, but him, Shimoda, and Kitchen, to me, that's the list. And Levi Kitchen, unbelievable rider. He's been on the podium a lot. I think, 4 thirds in a row? Not sure if he's fit enough. Not sure if he's fit enough to challenge Hayden, like consistently. He's still a relatively young guy. Big injury in Supercross. We cannot talk about that enough. That's a tough one to come back from. And I feel like we really haven't talked about it too much at all. So there's no doubt that he would be more fit if he finished the Supercross season and kind of had that base to carry over. But I see Levi, even 15 minutes into the first moto, I see a guy that knows he needs to be efficient. Like even before you even start to get tired, it's like being intentional about being efficient. And to me, that says he's still got some question marks in his head about how much he does have in the tank. And there's no doubt that Hayden is pushing the pace. I love what Levi did in the second moto. Got to start behind Hayden and kept him right there for as long as he could. He was in the red zone, absolutely, and he blew up. He went from, doing a 212 to 218s. But I love that he tried. And I know that's Mitch's philosophy. Go out there and try as hard as you can, do everything you can, and then just finish. Like do. And when I was coming up through the team, it was the same way. So I loved that he had the confidence to throw it all out on the line those first few laps. Because JB, that's a long moto, man. When you blow up like that and you still got 15 plus 2 to go, it's a long day.
Yeah. And how about he recovered? Like he took a couple laps off, then he went back at it. And that was maybe the most impressive thing to me. It was cool to see him match Hayden at the beginning. I believe they both ran 212. So I believe Levi matched him on speed. So that's a positive. That's That's a check in the positive column for the weekend. And then the way he regrouped is so difficult to do. It's like you're going out to run 5 miles and you sprint the first mile and you're like, there's no shot I can even finish
Yeah.
5 miles. And then you do the second mile a little bit slower and then you regroup and then you have more than what you think. That's what Levi did that second moto. And how about this mechanic put question mark on the pit board? I love what James and Weege were talking about on the broadcast, and James did a great job of explaining, like, as a rider, how we would feel if that happened. Like, man, come on, really? Like, you're supposed to be my guy. But Levi rebounded and regrouped and came back to get fourth in the moto. And pressure from Mosiman late, and it looked to me like he was like, wait, Mosiman? No. This isn't happening.
That was the most impressive part to me, is because that Levi felt he had nothing in the tank. And you and I have both been there into the race trying to hold somebody off, and you're like, dude, I cannot do another lap of this. I can't do another corner of this. And you get to the end of the race, and man, that sense of like pride and accomplishment when you push through something like that and do your best, because I really do think Levi got the most out of himself at Southwick. I think that with where he's at, with his fitness, with his riding, everything, I think he did his absolute best. And it would be very easy, Justin, you lose that toe. It's easy to get your spirit broken. You were right there with Hayden, and you can't. He broke him, right? And you go up to 218s, guys are passing you. It's easy to get freight trained, and in your head you start thinking to yourself, like, it's just, you can downward spiral and negative thoughts. I've been there, and the fact that he was like, I talk about it all the time, but just doing your best. And I've talked about with Levi specifically, he's kind of a mellow, level-headed dude. And I saw that paying dividends in that race. It's like, okay, I'm not winning this one, but I'm going to regroup. I'm going to do what I can. And no, Mosiman, you're not getting around me. So I thought that was impressive. But just overall with Levi, he's one of the guys that can do it. He's one of the guys that can win a moto. Yeah. He's got the talent. It's going to be real good for a long time. Still think he's a few weeks away on fitness.
Yeah, I think it stems back from the Daytona crash, like you said. Too. I don't think we're putting enough weight on how much that affects a person and a racer, and from fitness to mentality to all of it. So I think he's building back up. I think we'll see a very, very good Levi Kitchen in 2026. Maybe even SMX. SMX would be good. I mean, it's hard for anybody to beat Hayden right now. I mean, I think it's similar to Jett. We just have to tip our cap and say they're the best. They're the best guys in each class. There's no one that could argue that. And I think in the 250 class, they're looking for who's going to be the guy for next year. Like we've said a couple times on the show, who's going to be the guy in 2026? That's what they're all kind of fighting for right now. And I think Kitchen will be one of those guys. Between him and Shimoda, I'm sure some other guys will step up. Hymus will be back. But, Hayden's just got them all across the board, from starts to fitness to speed. Yeah.
It's just there.
Hey, see, last thing for me in the 250 class, we have got to give a shout out to Michael Mosiman. What a weekend, and just the trajectory that he's been on. You think of Supercross, had some pretty good rides, threw a couple good rides away, got a podium, I believe it was in Arlington. And then motocross, you think of Hangtown. I figured he would be good there because it's sort of where he grew up, and he's had some great rides there in the past. So I was kind of thinking, all right, I knew he'd be fast there. But, dude, he's been good all summer. Ran second that whole first moto, had a little bit of a bike issue, went to fourth. The second moto looked to be super fit. Like, man, shout out to Mosiman. Fourth overall in a contract year. It's good to see.
It's good to see, especially because I think most of us thought that he was done.
Yeah.
And he kind of came out of nowhere. Right? Yeah, came out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that Star saw something in him, because I definitely did. I mean, I raced a guy my last year on 250s, and I've talked about on the podcast, but he's one of those guys that definitely surprised me with how fast he can go at certain times. If he's able to, like in that first moto, him making a mistake, like right there on the last lap when I believe he was in second. If he can clean up stuff like that, and that's hard. It's hard to quantify what that is, but it just seems like weird little mistakes that takes him out of potentially getting close to a win or an overall podium or something like that. But make no mistake about it. I mean, the guy belongs out there. The guy belongs in the, around the top 5. And I'm glad he didn't hang it up. Because that was a dang good ride this weekend for Michael Mosiman. Couldn't agree more.
Do you keep him? If you're Bobby Reagan, you sign him on that ride? He's getting better and better. Stayed healthy.
You're gonna get him cheap, probably. Get him
what's cheap? What's cheap?
$150.
It's not that cheap. That's still a decent living.
I mean, I'm just saying, I would consider that cheap for his talent level, for how good he is.
Yeah, because he potentially could win, is what you're saying. Be on the
150 is kind of like kind of a B-rated prospect coming out of amateurs.
Yeah,
I feel like. And so I think you're going to get him cheap. And also, it always helps when you have the fastest motorcycle. Like, everybody wants to ride Yamaha 250, Star, their compound, everything they've done. It's great bikes. So they'll get him cheap. I think he has the potential in Supercross to win races. I'm not sure if he's ready to challenge for a championship, but I think I keep him. I keep him. Yeah, he's not going to win you a championship, but he's going to give you really solid rides. He always shows up, tries hard. So I'd keep him.
Love it. That's it for 250s AC. Unless you have anything else, we can jump into some fan questions.
No, that's it. The only thing I wanted to say was, and you're speaking about Mosiman, but the end of the second moto, we were talking about it a few minutes ago, but Levi's pass back on Mosiman, you had mentioned it, standing up around the turn, like, dude, that was sick.
Yeah, that was good.
Sick. That was like, if we had a segment on this podcast was like moment of the race or something, that would be the clip. That's all I have. That's all I have. These guys, everybody but Hayden, you just got to go, and like I tell myself on the golf course, man, just be better. Just got to be better.
Actually, one last thing. 6th overall, Mikkel Harap. That was a great day. 5.6 on the day.
Yep.
Triumph motorcycle, making it happen. Like, that was impressive. He was in the fight all day long. We had a chance. He came on the show at Birmingham. Supercross came on Race Day Live. Great kid. Enjoyed talking to him. Super nice. Grateful for the opportunity. It looked like he belonged up there, man. Didn't look out of control to me. Obviously, sand is probably his forte, like a lot of those guys. But who knows? Maybe just running up front, even though it's a condition that he typically excels on, maybe that will kind of propel him. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see him closer to the top 5 the rest of the year. And while we're at it, we got to give a shout out to Swoll too, man. Yeah,
like coming off an Achilles in these last 2 races, High Point, Southwick, dude. I think really, really, really impressive. Like to go through all that, and it was a heartbreak. I mean, he was on the come up big time after last year. Have that Achilles, and to come back and be where he's at right now, just so easy to feel sorry for yourself. Like when stuff doesn't work out like that, when you're trending in the right direction, and the way that he's responded to that, he's responded like a champion. I think we're looking at a future, guy that can contend for championships potentially sometime in the next few years, and also win races.
Yeah, one of the hardest things to do in our sport is be injured and come back when all the other guys are mid-season form.
Yeah.
Maybe the most difficult thing in our sport. And Swoll's fit right in. Like, he's done a great job of just plug and play. I'm right where I was when I left, and hey guys, I'm back.
How about his starts?
Man, he's kind of quietly underrated overall, huh?
Yeah.
Like overall throughout his career.
You think he gets a podium before the season's over? Putting you on the spot.
Like podium overall?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't think he gets a podium overall.
No?
No, I think
I'm going to say yes.
5.
Just to disagree with you, I'm going to say yes.
Really?
I think
you going for it?
Yeah. I think
Round
things
of golf
will have
on
to
it?
work out things will have to work out. But based off what I've seen, I mean, when you take that much time off, like you said, and you come back, and these are your first 2 gate drops in a year, it's hard. It's really hard to do. So I'm taking a bit of a guess, and that his trajectory, like by the end of the season, he's still got to be a lot better than he is right now. But yeah, I see him being up. I definitely see him getting some top 5s for sure.
Yeah, I could see some top 5 overall, 1 or 2 top 5 overalls. I just, man, a podium, like to go.
I know.
3-3 on a day or something. I think it's just asking a little too much from him. Is he capable? For sure. I mean, think of Mount Morris just a few years ago when he won. It was like kind of out of nowhere. So he can pull those rides off where he gets a great start. But yeah, you can pay for a round at Quill Hollow if you lose. Otherwise, it's on me when you come to Charlotte.
Dude, I went to, and we'll get into some fan questions here in a sec. I went and played Monarch Beach. You ever played there in San Clemente?
Never played. Or wait, is it like near Newport?
I don't think so.
No,
it's in San Clemente. It's like right on the other side of Ortega from where we're at Marietta.
I think I have. I think I played with the guy from Etnies years ago.
Really?
There.
Well, yeah. I got the invite to play. Great group of guys. Got the invite to play. Paid. It was a great experience overall, but paid like $220, and the greens were punched, dude.
Oh, really?
Greens were punched. And how about this? I shoot 11 over on the front. And this is where like half of our audience is now like closing their computer. I shot 11 over on the front, shot even par on the back 9. Like, how does that even happen? How does that even happen? I'm so lost right now with my swing. All right, we're done talking about golf. You know, while we're at it, before we get into fan questions, like I see some of the comments, some people are like, oh, enough with the golf talk. And then, but what you guys don't understand is there's the other half of people that are super interested in it. I get messages and stuff all the time. They're like, oh, I'm so stoked to hear about like things you do off the bike and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll try to keep it to a minimum. We know that you guys are here to talk about dirt bike stuff, but this is also kind of our show. We kind of just get to talk about whatever. So,
well, the one thing that you and I did talk about before we started this, look, it's pretty loose, but the one thing we did talk about was we did want to talk about off the bike stuff, like during the week. Like my favorite thing when I tune into podcasts, even if it's a NASCAR podcast with Dale Earnhardt Jr., I think it's fun to know what he did that week or how the airplane ride went or what happened. Did him and his wife get in an argument when they were taking the kids to school? Like, I love that behind the curtain type stuff. So that was one of the things we talked about. So whether you guys love it or hate it, we're probably going to continue it. So
yeah.
Buckle up.
Yeah, buckle up. I think in general, I think especially with social media now, like somebody like a Dale Jr., you, based off the information that you collect via social media, via, just watching racing or whatever, you paint this picture of what his life is. Mm-hmm. You paint this picture. So the more details that get added to that, the more clear the painting is. And it's easier to root for somebody when there starts to be that connection. You feel like you know somebody. You feel like you know what they're doing. They're giving you some insight into their life, right? So to your point, I'm the same way. Like I tune into any podcast, and I just want to know what this is a show. I want to know what's really going on, and that's I think you and I, that's what we try to do with this show. Is like it is a loose program, and it's always going to be a loose program.
In saying that, I haven't joined the club yet. I know all you fans you're just wondering, has he joined? I haven't joined, but I do have a meeting about joining this week, so stay tuned.
Love it. You better, dude. I know. Again, come off some of that big money. Come on, dude.
I'm just hanging on by a thread, man. I'm just trying to stick around.
I've seen your backyard.
Let's jump into some fan questions. What do I have this week?
Deflect?
Yeah.
Okay. Fan questions it is.
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty, so first question, kind of 2 in 1. A lot of talk between Jett versus Deegan. Thoughts on how they're going to match up? And have you also noticed that the Lawrence brothers won't say Hayden's name?
You want to take that one, AC?
The Lawrence brothers won't say Hayden's name. Well, Yeah, well, I think with the Lawrences, everything is intentional. Rarely is there like something that is not on purpose. So I think with someone like Hayden, the more you antagonize or the more that you make him a part of the conversation, like he just eats that stuff up. That's just going to make him better, more hungry. You don't want to do that. So I think it's smart to not try to piss him off. The Lawrences are not stupid. They know he's good. Like they know he's going to be competitive. Um, and they're competitors as well. So I'm sure they're also looking forward to it. How do they match up? It's so hard. It's so hard to predict that. Um, I think with Hayden's talent level, I think it's pretty much a shoo-in that he's going to be good on a 450. I know he's really strong. But he is pretty small. Um, so there may be a little bit of a learning curve, like in Supercross, especially being little on a 450, and a Yamaha 450 in general, like little. I think now it's a little bit different. Coop's kind of, I guess, on the smaller side. He's definitely made it work. But typically in the past, like even in the 2010s, small guys on Yamaha 450s just didn't really work out. But I think they've got the bike in a lot better spot. Of course, it's evolved over time. So I think he's going to have more of a learning curve in Supercross. I think he'll be a lot closer to the front in outdoors right away. And based off everything I've seen, based off all the evidence, everything that I've seen, I have no reason to believe that Hayden won't win races on a 450. You can't, like, even if you're Jett, you can't win them all. And Hayden's still young.
He can.
Yeah, I guess you can. You're right. He did. 2023, dude. I was there. Gets on a 450 and just wins every moto. He did.
Yeah,
he got on a 450 in 2023 right away, won every moto, and I could do nothing about it but watch. At least I didn't get lapped that summer. Do I think he'll be competitive? Yeah, I think he'll find a way. I think he'll find a way. I don't see him just like I don't buy into this whole like he's going to get on a 450 and dominate Jett. That's not happening. It's not going to happen. Based off Jett is not going to be dominated by anyone. Like he might get beat, but I don't think we live in a world where Jett isn't going to be dang near the favorite every time he lines up. It remains to be seen. I'm a big fan of both guys. I think it's going to be, more than anything, I think it's going to be great for the sport. Like, I think it's going to be so good. And we've already kind of had this buildup going for about a year now. Mm-hmm. We've talked about it off air, JB. 2026 outdoors. Yeah. Ratings, bro. Ratings.
It's going to be great. I'm going to dig into it a little bit deeper why I think it's going to be more of a challenge for Hayden. The first thing is, a rookie on a 450, you and I both lived this. It's harder to set up the bike than you anticipate it is. Now, he's got a great team around him. He's going to have a great team, and they're going to do a lot of that work for him. But racing that bike at the highest level, you have to kind of learn and figure it out on your own. That's going to be tough. Maybe the biggest piece to all this is it's going to be, I'm just fast forwarding to next year at this time. It'll be Jett's 4th year in the class in motocross. It'll also be his 2nd year on this generation Honda that they seem to have figured out now. So think about Jett in his 4th year, and the bike is completely dialed in, because pretty much the Japanese brands do every 4 years you get a new bike. And the first year you're kind of like trying to figure it out, which we've seen Jett and Hunter do through Supercross and even to start motocross season. Now it seems like they've figured out. Well, think about how much more they'll have it figured out, and it'll literally be like an attachment of their body. Mm-hmm. They'll know it so well. So he's going to be a better version of himself. I'm talking about Jett. He's going to be a better version of himself next year than he is now because of those reasons. And then you think about Hayden on a 450 for the first time, riding the Yamaha, learning how to race a 450, racing all these guys. Jett starts are a huge thing that guys like Eli Tomac are having to face now. So I think it's going to be an uphill battle. The one thing that I do believe, and over the past, I don't know, probably 6 months or so, I've been on board, and I've said this on the show. that Hayden continues to prove to me time and time again that he's going to will himself to getting it done. Now, that's the thing that I think he can lean on is just his intensity, his will to win, his tenacity, like all that stuff can will yourself to do anything. That's how I think Hayden Deegan wins. It's going to be really, really difficult. I think Jett gets the best of him for more than Hayden gets the best of Jett, especially for the first, honestly, I would say the first 2 years, man. Like I think for next summer, then Jett will have a big advantage going into Supercross. And this is just a time thing. Like Hayden's a rookie. It'll be similar to James and Ricky, like James came in super fast, but Ricky he was more put together. And James is a faster rider, but he was more put together. Now Jett has the speed and he's going to be put together. Man, that's a difficult one to go up against.
And you're just not expected to have it all figured out as soon as you jump on a 450. I think in general, I don't know. Right now, it's hard. Any commentary about Hayden or Jett, it's like if I don't know. It's hard. It's like we're fans of both guys. But if I had to answer the question, I got to give Jett the nod, like you said,
no doubt,
for a couple years, and that's and that's no knock on Hayden. I'm sure he's gonna get he's a walking highlight reel. Like he's gonna be up in the mix, and I could see him getting a couple moto wins or something in next year in the 450 class. But it just remains to be seen. But I'm just glad we're gonna get both guys in the class. Great for ratings, dude.
I can't wait for it. It'll literally be some of the most anticipated races we've ever seen. I mean, what was that year that James was coming in?
05.
Anaheim won. Yeah, I mean, how anticipated everyone was watching that race.
Oh, I remember
and that's
where
what
I
it's
was.
going to feel like. That's what it's going to feel like.
I remember where I was when the gate dropped. Sitting on my living room floor. I can close my eyes and remember that.
Yeah.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Will Chase be back at Redbud, and how do you guys think he will perform if he does so?
JB?
I think he's right in the mix for a podium. Yeah. I don't think he challenges for the win necessarily, but yeah, I mean, the thing is when Jett went out in Supercross, then Chase was the guy, and Adam, you and I were both guilty of this on Race Day Live. We're just like, who could ride a motorcycle faster than this guy? Chase was unbelievable. But if Jett was there, let's be honest, Jett would probably be out qualifying him at times and beating him at times. And, so now we forget, now the roles are reversed a little bit. Now we're just talking about Jett and he deserves all the accolades, but we somewhat forget how great Chase is as well. Like Chase, look, a lot of us have been critical on Chase for some mistakes that he's made and this and that, but he is unbelievable. So I don't think we can forget that. Most of us haven't forgot that, but man, I think he plugs right into. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes 2-2, 3-2, something like that.
I was going to say 3-2. He's definitely going to challenge for a podium. To me, it all depends on where his head's at. Where his head's at right now. Is he going out there to win? Like, is that, of course, that's what he'd say, I would imagine. Chase has always been pretty honest in his interviews. But it just depends. There's just a lot. It's kind of just been a lot of noise about Chase and going to a different team and like this whole injury, like all this stuff. I don't know where his head's at. Like, does he want to go out there? Is he watching these races right now? And is it killing him? Like, is it killing him that Jett is winning? Or has he, because I've been there too, where I'm like over it and don't even watch the races.
Yeah.
And he got to give him credit. He's raced, until he went out after Fox Raceway, he's raced 96% of the races since he moved to the Premier class. That's a lot. It's a lot. Jett's had time off. Eli's had time off. These guys. So I get it. The schedule's gnarly. But it all depends. I think if Chase is very motivated and wants to prove to everyone and himself that he can beat Jett. I think within a few races, I think he could be there. Like I definitely see him, if he's motivated, being the second best guy pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it just depends where his head's at. I'll echo JB though. 3-2. 3-2 for second overall this weekend.
Which direction of the wick do you prefer, left or right first turn?
Wow, that's a pretty easy one, I think. Justin, no way you liked right hand first turns, right? Don't tell me.
No, I like left for sure, mainly because of those two sections we talked about earlier in the show. I like those left-hand turns way better than I like them as right-hand turns. It literally came down to those sections and the start. I always preferred it to go left.
And for those kind of more casual viewers, just to kind of break that down for you, when you're turning right, once you we put our feet out in the turns, once you take your foot and you stick your foot out to make the corner, you no longer have your foot on the rear brake. So there's just less control. So that's why guys end up getting into each other, going down. Just more chaos happens in right-hand first turn. So what would you say? Left-hand first turn is probably 95% of the time? 90% of the time?
Yeah, I would say, I grew up racing Millville a lot, and Millville's always been a high-speed right-hand turn. And, man, there was never a time when I lined up that I wasn't a little bit nervous of that.
I hear you. That's a fast open.
It's a fast
Millville
one.
in general, like that's the whole start, up the mound, down, gets super rough going into that left-hand turn. You're going about 120 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's a fast section for sure.
Yeah. So definitely, left. I think
Left.
that's pretty across the board. That would what every rider would say.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a predetermined bike setup for second motos at the wick, or just on the fly after sight lap?
I mean, if you're doing anything after the sight lap, I feel like you're in a pretty bad spot.
Yeah, you're searching.
Right?
Yeah.
I always liked, I don't know, I guess for Southwick, I'm trying to think of some changes that I would make between motos. I think if anything, most of the time I would say in general, Justin, you want the rear end a little lower in sand, front end a little taller, just because so many braking bumps coming into the turns, keeping that front end up so you don't have to wait for it. So sometimes the front end's too soft, you get into the corners too fast, the front gets low, and then you have to wait for the front end to come back up really before you get on the gas. So I always liked, if anything, I would just go a couple clicks stiffer on the forks most of the time for second motos. But I always felt like it was hard. I was either like thinking about the bike or I was thinking about me and racing and riding. So once I made a decision, most of the time, like I would make a decision after the first practice. I always had great people around me. It would be better. And then, maybe make a slight change between motos, Justin, but I didn't like anything big. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I didn't like to change stuff. Even maybe after first practice, I would change a few things just to kind of get a little more comfort, but I didn't like to change throughout the day, especially before second moto. Maybe a couple clicks, but that's about all I would go. But to elaborate a little bit more just on Southwick, I remember years, typically I'd run 22 clamps. Maybe for Southwick, I'd go to 24s to just make the bike a little bit longer.
Yep.
I'd slow down the rebound in the rear just to let it stay a little bit more planted, maybe stiffen up the forks. So, and maybe even put the rear end a little bit further back, like whether it's different gearing or I always tried to lengthen the bike, right? You just wanted it more stable. And
you have something, I always felt like, making the bike longer when you have good ruts or you have big berms, things that you can turn on. I mean, if anything, making the bike longer just makes it a little bit less nimble feeling, like a little less maneuverable. But for a place like Southwick, you kind of just berm blasting around the whole track. So longer the bike, the more stable it is. I'm right there with you, Justin.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and if you miss that setup, then I do remember one year, it was the new Yamaha. So maybe one of the most frustrating races of my life. I actually forgot about this until now. Yes, 2010. So I was on JGR, and the week before Southwick, we're like, man, I don't know if we're going to need to run a bigger tank, like, dude, because typically there you use more fuel, right? Because you're on the gas more and you're clutching it more. And so we were doing the math, and it was a brand new motorcycle. We could make it at every other track. And I believe they're blowing up the stock ones. Like you could just kind of heat them up and make them a little bit bigger. And I remember doing all the stuff during the week. We're doing the calculations. All right, yep, we can make it. And then we show up there, and in practice, they did some more calculations, and they're like, we're not going to make it. So we put on this big, like,
Oh,
I mean,
no.
like off-road tank. Dude, I was so,
No
it's one of
way.
the only times me and J-Bone, Jeremy Albrecht, got into it, but because of that race. Like, I'm like, I honestly would rather be in fifth and run out of gas than run around in 10th or
Totally.
15th with this tank on, man.
That's
it was
crazy.
bad.
And
Yeah.
you put the tank on too, and the bike feels really wide between your legs. Really, oh, dude, no,
it was so bad.
And you kind of, you were pretty neutral. I think you got more neutral like the later you went in your career. But I do feel like you were kind of a guy that was a little bit old school with the technique of kind of like sitting closer to the front in the turns. Is that right, or am I wrong?
Yeah, I would say. I would say that's somewhat right. The biggest thing it did, though, it just added so much weight to my forks.
Yeah.
So, like,
Pulling
the
that
pitch
thing
of the
down.
bike, and that's the last thing you want at Southwick, is the pitch of the bike to go forward and soften the front. And I literally just had to line up with it, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. Like, I'm telling you, AC, I would have much rather been in the top 5 or having a good race and run out of gas and push my bike back to the truck than run back. I think I got 8th or something that day, but yeah, it was not a fun day.
And I don't know why I just thought about this. That pretty much answered that question. But for anybody, you weekend warriors like me, listening to the show, watching the show, something that you can do to be instantly better on a dirt bike. Don't break going through the bumps. Like, pick out a section, pick out a turn, and go into the turn as slow as you need to make it, but don't break on the bumps. Maybe break a little before the bumps, but in general, Justin, there's so many times that Southwick is just like, there's so many times I missed the setup there. To be honest, I didn't really know how to set the bike up for Southwick. I pretty much always felt that my rear end was all over the place. Like I would make the front tall, in the back, I kind of felt, especially with the scoop tire that didn't have side knobbies at the time, there's a lot of side to side movement. So all my best laps, my best races at Southwick were me just not braking as much, and I think Ronnie Tishner was my riding coach for many years growing up. And one of the first things he did, like, I think it was at Hard Rock Raceway in Ocala, Florida, in probably 2004. He made me stomp on my rear brake and push the rear end of the bike down. And then don't stomp the rear brake and push the rear of the bike down. So for all you guys at home, try that one time, and see how much faster you can go than your friends. Maybe we should do like some type of like riding tip segment or something.
Yeah, that's cool.
And
And that's great advice. And even, like to challenge them even more, just put your toes, the balls of your feet on the foot pegs and don't move them going all the way into the turn. And if you blow the turn, whatever, go off the track. But yeah, your bike works so much better without breaking through the bumps.
In general, the most I ever improved was between the year of 2009 and 2010. And the only thing I changed, if you could go and watch YouTube videos of me in 09 and me in 10, the only thing that I changed is I started doing motos at 80% and just focusing on technique, because you can't make big technical changes if you're trying to go as fast as you can. And I get it. All you guys listening and watching, I get you want to go to the track, you want to go as fast as you can. But do yourself a favor. Go out on the track, ride 70, 80%, and just be super intentional about something like that, not braking on the bumps or keeping your feet in the right place. That to me is the template of how to get better quicker. Difference between anybody, like the difference between great and really good is just how deliberate you are with your practice. So if you really want to get better, back it down, go slower, focus on it. That's all I got, JB.
Love it.
Great show. Great show as always, man. You're just carrying. You need one of those copper fit back support kidney belts. You're always just carrying this show, man.
Please.
Yeah, I'm still got the white wall behind me. I'm kind of growing to like it now.
Looks
good. But I don't really know what to do. I mean, I'm getting a sign built, like it just like a neon sign says AC and JB show.
Mm-hmm.
I have some, I got like a picture of me right here in front of me of me winning my first Supercross race. But I don't know, man. Like with how we format the video, like if I put a picture of something back there, that's like all you're gonna see. It doesn't really make any sense. So that's where, guys, I'm struggling as to like what more I do behind me here. I think the sign will be enough, right?
Yeah, it'll be fine. Look, the white wall is fine. It's all good. It's all good.
Well, Justin, have a great week, man. Have a great week. Get on the golf course. Go buy that membership, please.
Actually, I'm headed back to just so all the viewers and listeners know, AC was kind enough to do this a day early because I actually fly back home to Iowa tomorrow with the family. Yeah. So we're going to a little vacation back home, see my parents, see some friends, see some family. So
come to think of it, I'm glad you're going to Iowa. I know how you feel about Iowa. You're always talking it up. You really fly the flag, and I respect that. I have a trip. I haven't talked to you about this off air. I have a trip. I'm going to see my buddy Lawson Craddock. He's one of my best friends. As you know, I met him playing PlayStation, playing Call of Duty Warzone, and back in COVID times, and now he's like my best friend. He flew from Spain to Salt Lake City to see my last race. Like just him, his wife Chelsea, the great people. I'm doing a little 4th of July trip, going to Houston, Texas. I believe I fly back on Monday, Justin. So we may have to get a little flexible with next week's show. But yeah, man, thanks. Hope you have a great week. Have a great time.
What a legend, Lawson Craddock. And it's Tour de France week, I believe, next week. So
I can't wait.
Will Lawson watch that? Will he be paying attention?
I think so. Right? I think he was talking about maybe doing some commentary for it. But I'm not sure if that happened this year. But yeah, Lawson, for those of you guys that don't know, Lawson Craddock broke his scapula or something, broke his shoulder, broke a bone the first stage of the Tour de France, I believe in 2018, and finished the race, man. He finished the race. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. But yeah, that's what I'll be doing. JB, have a great time.
Yeah,
thanks for the great show. Appreciate all you viewers, listeners out there. You guys are awesome. Thanks for supporting, watching, and enjoy Redbud. We'll see you next week.
See ya.